Hello, my name's Simon Cartwright. Thank you for clicking on this presentation, which is called The Values of Visuals at Home and in the Classroom. So, how do visuals help children? Well, visuals help children in a range of ways. For example, a visual schedule is a graphic representation of scheduled tasks and activities for the day. And visual schedules are also beneficial for breaking down learning tasks with multiple steps to ensure all stages have been completed. Visual schedules are beneficial for any child, but can help reduce anxiety for children with autism and other special educational needs. Visual schedules are an excellent way to help ease transitions and reduce lack of engagement and challenging behaviour. Parents too can keep their own visual schedules for home use, but it is important to keep the format the same with consistency that might be being used at school. Visuals help to reduce the unexpected and surprises. They inform the child what to do, where to go, and what to expect next. It's a useful tool for consolidating learning as well. For those children working at a higher level, visuals can also help support organisational skills in terms of what equipment they may need. For example, a PE lesson or a maths lesson that might require certain equipment. And as I've said before, visuals can be used very effectively to help consolidate learning and break complex activities down. They can help promote independent learning. So if a child has an activity modelled and it's broken down in visuals, it's easier then to hand them over to the visual schedule and prompt them, gradually reducing the level of support required. Visuals can also help develop recall, short-term memory, long-term memory. And for example, at the beginning of a session, you might want to bring back prior learning, and just to use a couple of visuals may assist you in doing that. None of us like unexpected and sudden change, but if a child does have autism or other special educational needs where processing may be affected, a visual cue to let them know that change is about to happen is a very, very effective resource and helps to reduce anxiety and, at worst, what could be challenging behaviour. For the wider population, of course, visuals will be with us throughout our life, be it road signs, warning signs, directions, maps. So conditioning a child and a pupil to work with visuals to access information in a range of settings is obviously a very good life skill. Whenever we work with children, of course, it's all about personalised learning and a bespoke resource. So before using visuals, I think it's very important to understand the child that you're going to implement them with and try and understand what their preferred form of visual might be. We're going to look at some of the varied formats. The other thing that I believe is very important is considering how much information you're going to give them. For some children, on a visual schedule, now and next is enough. It's helping them understand what they're doing in the present and what they're going to be doing next. Some children are more readily able to cope with larger amounts of information, and that might mean you will give them a visual schedule till lunchtime or from lunchtime till home time, or there'll be those children who can actually cope with and process the whole day on a larger strict timetable. Again, know the child that you're putting these in place for the best effect. One type of multisensory visual is something we call an object of reference. Now, these are often used in special schools where children will have very complex learning needs and may well be non-verbal. But as you can see from the image, not only would you have a PEX or a visual card there, but you would actually have an object, a three-dimensional object. The idea being that gives a lot of information in terms of what that child is going to expect from going into that room or that box or that zone in the classroom. And again, it's a way of sharing information quickly without needing to use lots of speech. A very effective way of creating a visual timetable for a learner is to include a photograph of something that they might actually have done in the past. So it may be a picture that includes them engaged in an activity with perhaps a few words or a single word. Again, it really helps get information across to them in an effective and quick way. And obviously symbols with words, again, can be very, very effective and are used in something called Picture Exchange Communication System, often heard of as PECS. And that's a way that children can select certain symbols with words to express needs and wants at a very lower level, and that level of communication can be advanced. In the case of PECS, that's up to about 5 stages. For the more able learner, of course, a single word or short phrase with a tick box can be very effective. Again, I've seen these used very, very effectively with success criteria in lessons in school. So a child will actually tick as they go along. Again, a great aid for independent learning, breaking the task down into steps, and their steps to success are ticked off as they work through them. It is important to be very flexible with the use of visuals and schedules. And as I've said before, it's really important to know the learner and their preferred style of accessing information. Some children will react against the simplicity of a visual, saying, you know, it's babyish, it's something I don't want to work with. The reality is, of course, the schedule needs to be there in some format. So it's quite possible that your learner may prefer single words and short phrases as a more grown-up way of working. And there are, of course, many programs in school that help us do this, not least Communicate in Print, which will give you those particular symbols. And indeed, you can customize some things that may be relevant only to that child. It can never be underestimated how much anxiety can be caused through change for a child with autism across the day. Unexpected change can be particularly challenging. So helping transition is always a good thing. Trying to reduce the number of changes across the day is also good practice. And in some schools that I've worked in, I've supported staff teams to actually do an audit to look at how many transitions occur across the day, how many of them are actually essential, and how many of those could be actually reduced. But whatever those changes are, as I say, preparation and giving that child perhaps an activity to do as they're preparing to change that is a calming activity that might support their sensory modulation, that's a golden opportunity. Of course, the success of any kind of visual is the consistency of delivery. So in terms of the classroom or at home, I think it's really important to think who is going to be responsible for keeping the visuals up to date and relevant to that young person. Consider where the visual is going to be located. I've seen in some schools brilliant timetables that have been personalized that are stuck on a wall very high up where the child can't really access that information. And also when they leave the classroom, that information stays on the wall. It's quite useful to have a portable visual schedule that can be taken around the school, clipboards, notebooks, laminated cards, etc., or even a tablet. But make sure that that schedule is always with that young person. And the length of the visual schedule and presentation can vary according to the needs of the child. It's not a one-fit-all. So in conclusion, and as we've said before, visuals are there for life. and they can be really helpful tools for independent living skills, independent learning skills. So you're really building something for the future. But above all, you're helping to support engagement, reduce anxiety, and help that child develop an understanding of expectation, of context, and the real world. It can help plan how they reach their own aspirations and beyond as they get older. And build in time for the child or young person to celebrate, reflect, and measure their own progress. So, for example, the use of star charts and reward charts, positive photographs, always very powerful and useful. And it's useful for you as a practitioner or a parent to reflect on your role and to think about the purpose of and objectives for those visuals and how and why you're going to use them. And in something like PECS, for example, there's training that you could explore to develop your own understanding and better use of all these resources that are out there. This is just a very whistle-stop talk around visuals, and of course there is much more information available should you want to research it. But I hope this has been useful, and thank you for watching.